Belmont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning? Nice to see all of you. And like I said before, these last couple weeks, I'm really enjoying being able to see all of you. You know, when we finally do move back into the big room, I want you all to sit in the middle so I can see you. And can't you, and isn't it kind of nice to see each other, right? Right? Those of you that sit in the front row, you have no idea who's at church on a Sunday, ever. Oh, well, welcome. I'm Reverend Tracy. Delighted to have all of you here today. We want to wave to all of our friends online. I found out this week that I ran into an old friend from my early church days down in South Orange County. And she says, "You know, I watch you every week." I said, "No, I didn't know that." I can't tell who it is, but it's just nice to know that we have an online community that are regularly visit with us, and even though we aren't talking to them directly, maybe someday we'll get that technology. But in the meantime, it's just good to remember that we are part of something bigger and that there are people who listen to and learn from and participate in all that we do and teach, and we don't even know. We don't know the impact we have on the world. So when you are being your little bright, shiny selves, people benefit. So thank you all for being in the room. Thank you to everyone who's out there online. We are a community that comes together on purpose, and our purpose is to love, to learn, to support each other, to create a world that works for everyone. So good on you for being here today, just for that. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah. All right, let me tell you who's on platform with me this morning. Our practitioner of the day is Nisa Burrows. You know, if you don't know Nisa personally, you might want to take a minute and just chat with her after the service. She has the benefit of having been raised in this philosophy. Can you imagine how all enlightened and Zen-like we would be if we'd found this stuff way earlier than our 30s and 40s? I'm just saying. This little aura, can you see the aura? Yeah. Nisa will do our opening invocation and a reading for us to get us started. And we have some great music today. We've got Jeff on our magic keyboard over here, and we welcome back Tina Meeks. And knowing the size of your voice, you'll probably blow the roof off today. Okay. She's gonna contain just a little bit. Right, yeah, okay. All right, well, let's do what we do, and that is to allow ourselves to be centered in the present moment. So if you will, turn your phones off and clear your laps and clear your minds, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes wherever you are and let the sound of the bowl take you within. And as you breathe in and breathe out, bring your attention to that heart space in the center of your being. Let yourself remember that right where you are, God is, and all that we know is of the One.
And as we deepen into this now moment, knowing that the one life, the one love, the one power is continuously flooding out and expresses itself to each one here, through each one here, as that which each one here calls me. We attune to this divine perfection. It flows through each and every one here, dissipating any obstructions, transforming everything into the beauty, the love, the light, and the life of the one. inviting it in. To express its reality in your outer life, here and now. Intend to have a life aligned with divine presence. Intend. Divine source has full sway and express itself as you, here and now, each and every moment. In gratitude that this is so, knowing it is so, we release it. And so it is. My reading is from, it's from A Science of Mind, February 1993. And it's called In Forgiving We Are Forgiven. The Science of Mind textbook, page 261, says, I forgive all and am forgiven of all and by all. Science of Mind tells us that without forgiveness, we can never be totally free. Yet some of the people tell me, Rainbow, there are some things that happen to me that I never, ever will be able to forgive. Larry was just a person. He grew up with an abusive father. He made life horrible for his kids. As a result, Larry left home very early. Later on in life, Larry began to study the science of mind. He realized that the only person he was harming in his anger and his hatred was himself. He was actually poisoning himself. He kept affirming God was showing him a way to forgive. One Christmas, Larry decided to go home. The first thing he saw as he entered the house was his father sitting in a chair by the window. His father was sobbing. He was recalling the past when he had to leave his family and go off to World War II. Little Larry, 2 years old, was allowed to go to the train. He started crying and hung to his father for dear life. When the father finally got on board, he found a seat, looked out the window at his family, and cried bitter tears at that moment. In this moment that Larry saw his dad crying, he realized that at one time his father had really cared for him. This insight enabled him to forgive, and finally he had peace in his heart. Know that today I change my diet to one of life. I drink and imbibe large draughts of forgiveness. I fully and freely forgive everyone and everything that has ever harmed me in every way, any shape or form. I am free.
Good morning, everybody. So nice to have you close. I think you all know this song, and we'll just remember and in the tone of forgiveness and remembering that reading. You'll remember these words as well. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Oh, you may think I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, only the brotherhood of woman and man. Imagine all the people sharing all over the world. Oh, you may think I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. No, I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. You may think I'm a dreamer, but I'll tell you I'm not the only one. Someday you'll come on and join us, and the world will live as one.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. Thank you, Tina. That's just lovely. So, light the candle today for peace. Because while it is true we are talking about forgiveness, but forgiveness always leads to peace. So I'm going to start with a story. It's from the We Follow Dreams page on Facebook, which is where I get a lot of my material these days. My daughter and I just had a knockdown, drag-out bedtime hour. Finally, about 10 minutes ago, I put her to bed, and through clenched teeth, I said, "I love you, Holland, but not another word tonight. You are going to sleep now. I am done fussing over stuffed animals." "Mommy?" I paused on the way out the door, literally biting my tongue. I was so frustrated. "What is it, Holland?" "I do have one more thing to say." Of course she did. She's standing on the bed with her hands on her hips, too. Her hair was wild, and she was using her arm to wipe her tears and snot away from her face. "Mommy, my 3-year-old said, staring me down with venom in her tiny voice. I forgive you. Then she laid down and cried. And honest to goodness, for a hot minute, I did not know what to do. The way she said, I forgive you, made it sound like cuss words. I walked over to the bedside and leaned over. Baby girl, do you know what forgiveness means? She was still sniffling, her face shoved deep into her Little Mermaid pillow. Yes, she muttered. I really had to hear this. It means you were wrong, and I'm tired of being mad, and now I'm going to sleep, and my heart won't have a tummy ache. So there you have it, folks. Tonight, I was taught a lesson in forgiveness by a 3-year-old. It was a gut punch, too, and you're dang right, I climbed in that bed and loved on her. Because to be honest, my heart had a bit of a tummy ache. I was reminded by my toddler to never go to bed in anger. Because when you do, your heart will have a tummy ache. And you know what? I've been alive for 35 years, and I've got to give it to her. She's not wrong. Title today is The Gate of Forgiveness. This month we're focusing on gates and doorways, ways into and out of the past and into the future, out of what holds us back and into what opens up before us, and what it takes to move through over those thresholds, through the gate, open the door. We have to move. We're the ones that make it happen. And the doorway is always there, and the gate is always part of the fence. J. Ellsworth Collis writes, if our past fences us in with resentment and with desires for revenge, the past holds us captive. If I can't forgive someone who's hurt me in the past, even if the hurting was mean and intentional, I'm letting them control me years later. It is enough that someone hurt me when I was 5 or 15 or 50. Why let them continue to hurt me today? We all know that forgiveness is for our own hearts. It's not to condone wrongdoing. It's not to say that mistreatment was somehow okay, or we can forget it. But it does allow us to be free to move into a future that is not weighed down by the past. So it's our job to look for the gate in that fence that keeps us in, or that we've built to keep someone out. Some of you have brick walls with moats around them. You know who you are. There's a gate. Even in a wall, there's a gate or a doorway. So if we seek the gate and we step out into that open field beyond, what we're telling ourselves is, yes, this has been part of my experience. I come from this contained place, and there is more to life out there. Ram Dass reminds us that if we hold grudges, if we don't practice forgiveness or work on releasing our unfinished business, we'll just be left more stuck. If instead we cultivate being in the present, the awareness of this moment is stronger than the memories of the past. And that brings a spaciousness that can surround us and allow for healing. We owe it to ourselves to decide what it is we want to carry forward. We are always in a place where we can honor and be grateful for whatever lessons we've learned, for the people that have shaped us in our lives, for the events that have helped us to understand the world differently. Even those things that are traumatic or painful or difficult are still things we can transform into the energy of our lives. They build our own compassion. They tell us who we don't want to be. They remind us that there is a better way to live, and we know there's a better way to live. As human beings, we are called, our soul calls for us to know that it's better to live with compassion. It's better to live with a sense of excitement. It's better to live from love than fear and hate and resistance. When you hold a grudge, You want someone else's sorrow to reflect the level of your own hurt. Right? Isn't that it? Isn't it? It's like, I want you to be so sorry for what you did equal to the amount of the hurt that I felt. And very seldom do those two things meet. Even with good friends, when there's been a dust-up and we get back together and apologize and try to make it better, we're still not always meeting at the level of the pain. We don't always know the impact of our actions, or they don't always know the impact on us. So we have to let it go. We have to give it some room. We have to give ourselves some room. Sometimes forgiveness just looks like loving yourself enough to move on. Again, not to condone, not to make something okay that was absolutely wrong, but to know that there is a road to peace, and that road is love. Whether it's self-love, love of nature, love of each other, even love of a difficult situation from a distance. Nobody says we have to stay in it. But we can shift the way we remember things in order to build a future rather than to stay stuck in the past. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, in his book, Living Science of Mind, talks about our need for forgiveness. I will paraphrase since he's a bit wordy. He starts off by saying, we're human beings. So we all kind of come with a sense of guilt. Our culture makes sure that we know that we're not quite enough unless we buy, do, or look a certain way or buy certain things. And sometimes we think that the only way to feel better is to realize that the way we judge ourselves is really all those other people that we're judging. We project it out because I can be better than you, I can feel better about myself. It's a false sense of power, it's a false sense of security, and our culture sort of trains us to do that anyway. But the thing is, what we really want is to feel like we are in alignment with our true nature. We want to be seen and heard for who we are and celebrated for who we are, as we should be. And if we're in that place, it's a lot easier to celebrate other people where they are. That doesn't mean we have to all get along. Doesn't mean that we're all the same, because we're certainly not. But there's an opportunity there for us to realize that in the variety of life there are gifts, including our own. However, if you walk around with a grudge, if you're in a continuous state of resentment, it cramps your whole style of living. It blocks the spontaneous flow of enthusiasm without which there is no joy. Nobody wants to live that way. Most of that judgment comes from, he says, our unconscious sense of self-condemnation. That voice that just goes on and on and on in our heads about what we're not doing right and what else we should be doing, and we're not working hard enough. And really, we ought to have called that person, and whatever else is on your list that your monkey mind pokes you at all the time. He talks about the words of Jesus saying, "Forgive and you shall be forgiven." Now he says, of course, Jesus knew that we do not make bargains with God. But if we more carefully study his method, the more clearly we can see that what he's doing is removing emotional blocks before he heals people. Think about the stories that you've heard or that you grew up with about Jesus asking the person, do you believe? Right? Do you believe in the Spirit of God? Do you believe in the healing power of love? And when the people said yes, then there was room for the healing to happen. And so what forgiveness does is it makes room for things to happen in our lives in a way that moves us forward. My favorite Lutheran pastor, Nadia Bolz-Weber, she of the tattoos and the foul mouth. She said, I was taught that evil is fought through justice and might. The way we combat evil is by making sure that people get what they have coming to them, an eye for an eye. But inevitably, when I can't directly harm the people who harmed me, I just end up harming the people who love me. Retaliation or holding on to anger doesn't combat evil. In the end, if we're not careful, we can actually absorb the worst of our enemy and on some level even become them. So what if forgiveness, rather than being a weak way of saying it's okay, is actually a way of wielding bolt cutters and snapping the chain that links us to those who have hurt us? So it gives us a freedom, as we heard in Nisa's reading. The path of forgiveness is one that brings us to a place of free choice, of opportunities, of potential for good, of new directions. It brings us to a place that is much more peaceful. Ernest Holmes goes on to say that God is life and love. And how can life and love flow through us if we stop them at any point? It's not because we bargain with the Almighty that Jesus said, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." The real reason is that it's impossible for us to have a sense of being forgiven while we are still condemning others. He also said, "Give and it shall be given to you." Life intends to give us every good thing, but when the circulation is stopped at any point, it is stopped at every point. And he says, think about how your blood circulates in your body. If you cut off circulation anywhere, it affects the entire organism. Now, by the same token, if you promote healing anywhere in your life circumstances, in the body of your affairs, you are actually bringing healing to all of your life. Just one little drop at a time. Okay, so I have a lot of readings today because, needless to say, a lot's been written on forgiveness. And this one, I do not know the author, and I apologize. I looked for the notation, and obviously it's not a book. It looks like maybe it's a series of essays, so I'll find him again because I believe it's The Alchemy of the Soul is what he speaks on. His name is Evan something. But besides who he is, let me tell you what he said. Sooner or later, we're apt to conclude that nothing can derail our spiritual progress quite like an unforgiving heart, since it effectively interrupts the easy flow of unending grace. Same thing Holmes said, only he was talking about blood. Anger is an unconscious means of restoring self-esteem after an emotional injury. Think about it. When you get angry, you're standing in your power, right? And well directed, it can actually take you into some form of progress or resolution or clarity. But obviously, if it's unconscious, then we're victims. And our victimhood confirms for us only how deeply right we are, which then turns into a fossil within us, a hardened place. And from that point on, we're drinking our own toxicity. And my favorite line of my entire talk today, our huffiness will marinate us in the pathetic brine of spiritual grouchiness.
One more time.
Our huffiness will marinate us in the pathetic brine of spiritual grouchiness. I know some of those spiritually grouchy people. I'm sure you do too. But it's just misdirected anger. It's cutting ourselves off from the love that we are because we are resentful, because we have been wronged, and we're going to tell you all about it. How many times do you realize that as you are retelling the story of what happened to you, your entire body is reacting physically? We don't know physically the difference between what we're thinking and what's actually happening. Right? It's that whole piece of us that sees a hose on the ground and thinks it's a snake and causes us to fly backwards 5 feet. It's involuntary. What our minds are focused on is what we see as truth. Hello, that sounds familiar. So he also says, don't forgive prematurely. Your anger is actually a signal that what you really want is for a relationship or a set of circumstances to be at a higher level. So there's something there for us to learn. That anger is to be acknowledged and honored. It will whisper in our ear what level that might be. Our spiritual work is to recognize it, to honor it, to realize that we're cutting ourselves off in some way and that there is a different path. There is a gate in that fence that we can walk through. There is a way forward, and it's called love. So the word forgive, the for at the beginning is like for, F-O-R-E, like what has to happen first. So what has to happen first before the give part can happen? And it's not just that we're going to be given gifts and we can't receive the gifts before we do the forgiveness, although that's part of it. It also means that we aren't able to give. Those spiritually grouchy people are not givers of light and love in their lives. They don't have it to give. Jesus says if you bring your gift to the altar and then remember that your brother has something against you, the gift cannot be received. Leave the gift at the altar and go reconcile with your brother and then come back and offer your gift. You must do your cleanup before there's room for you to give freely and receive freely. If you want to prosper, if you want to love, if you want to be healthy, our consciousness does not accept affirmative prayer until we've already been part of the forgiveness process, either from our end or receiving it from someone else. Until we've made ready our consciousness to receive these gifts, we cannot attract to us a life of wholeness or live in joy or have a consciousness of harmony. Reconcile means to bring into harmony. So in order for us to live our life in alignment, which is what the soul's calling is, we need to make sure that we are reconciled with the people and the circumstances of our lives from a place of spiritual power. Not as a doormat, not as, all right, do whatever you want to me, I'm just all love, let me turn the other cheek. That's not what that means. What it means is we don't give a lot of energy to fighting against something, but we are very clear on what we stand for, and that what we stand for is the expression of love in the world. And even if we choose to move ourselves out of a toxic situation or separate from a destructive relationship or change the way we change our broker because they're mismanaging our money. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. We can separate in that way. It only matters where we're coming from. And if we're coming from a place of understanding that who we are and what we are is meant to connect, is meant to support life, is meant to be positive, and that includes all about ourselves, and we're not self-condemning, then we are able to extend that to others. We're able to say, hey, I'm human, you're human, that was a mess, let's make it better. It doesn't change what happened. We don't forget the hard stuff. We just hold it differently, and it doesn't hold us back. Gates are meant to be walked through. Doorways are meant to be opened and transcended. As we forgive, we make ready our consciousness to live a spiritual life. Forgiving, before the giving. It is in the actual act of giving that we most clearly, nearly emulate the nature of spirit. It's basic, it's profound, it's our life, because when we give, we're emulating the power and the presence which gives all life. All that it has, all that it is. That's why giving is a spiritual principle which is taught in all spiritual traditions. But we have to be ready. We need to know, too, that in the principle of giving, our giving is not a bargaining chip. We don't give to get. We give so that we may be in balance with that creative flow of life, that we are a part of that ease and grace and flow and circulation. Our giving is what allows us to be part of a kind of rhythmic, harmonic song of life. We are part of the one verse, the universe, the one verse. And we give purely for the sake of giving, but not until we have made room, not until we have gone before and cleared the way and made peace in a way that makes sense to our hearts. Consider replacing the word forgive with release. Think of a person or a circumstance in your own life that you feel like is holding you back. Instead of forgiving them, release it. You're releasing them from your life so they no longer have a hold on you. Just change the question from how do I forgive them to how do I release them? And then consider yourself, love yourself, value yourself, and know that you have the power to change the dynamics of any relationship, any set of circumstances, even the one with yourself. And the Buddha says that when that inner conflict ends, peace begins. Marianne Williamson, in her book, A Return to Love, reminds us that since all minds are connected, then the correction of anyone's perception is on some level a healing of our entire human consciousness, the race consciousness. The practice of forgiveness is our most important contribution to the healing of the world. Angry people cannot create a peaceful planet. So this week, your call is to figure out who or what is your fence. What's holding you back in the past? What's eating away at you? What is causing that conversation in your head to judge so harshly yourself or another? I invite you to open the gate and step through it, whatever that looks like for you. Say to yourself, you were wrong, and I'm tired of being mad. And make sure you don't go to sleep with a tummy ache in your heart. Namaste. Let's take a moment and go within. Breathing into that heart space. That place where peace and love consistently abide. Just waiting our attention, looking for us to come knock on the door. In the words of Ernest Holmes, God is all there is, and God is love. Love is the motivating power of the whole universe. God is in everything, in everyone. And realizing that love is the great motivating power of life and knowing that spirit must be at the center of everything, today I am meeting that spirit in everyone, seeing the manifestation of that power in everything. And if there is any condemnation or animosity in me, I gladly let it go. I let it go as I turn to that silent presence within me which gives all and withholds nothing. I enter into that harmony, that flow of life, the eternal peace which is ever available, into the joy of knowing that this is the kingdom of God, here and now. My yesterdays are gone. My tomorrows stretch forth into an endless future of pure delight. And from out of the invisible there come to me the words that all is well, that all is truly well, for there is love and only love in me, as me, around me, and it heals and makes clear and straight the path. All is well, and so it is. We have an affirmation you'll find in your bulletin, and I'll invite you to repeat after me so that our friends online can participate. I open my heart to love and find forgiveness. I move beyond forgiveness to understanding. and I find the path of compassion and kindness for all. Peace is mine, and so it is. And let's welcome Tina back up to the stage.
Okay, you know this one. We're going to get started. One heart, oh, let's get together and feel alright. Yeah, hear the children crying. Hear the children crying. Oh, let's give thanks to the Lord and we will feel alright. Saying, let's get together and feel alright. Yes, let them pass all their dirty remarks. There is one question that I have to ask. Is there a place for all those hopeless sinners who have hurt all mankind just to save their own? Believe it, one love, what about one heart? What about love? Yeah, yeah, feel alright. Oh, as it was in the beginning, and it shall be in the end. Oh, let's live to the Lord, and we will feel alright. Oh, let's get together and feel alright. One more thing now, let's get together and fight this Armageddon. So when the man comes, there will be no doom. Have pity on those whose chances grow thinner. There ain't no hiding place from the Father of creation. Saying one love, oh, what about one heart? Oh, let's get together and feel alright. I'm pleading to mankind. Oh, one heart. Oh, let's give thanks to the Lord and we will feel alright. Oh, let's get together and feel alright. Give thanks. Oh, yes, give thanks and feel alright. We gotta get together. Let's get last time. Feel alright. Yay!
Woo! Thank you. So lovely to have you, Tina. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. We have our prosperity affirmation. We are a prosperous group, are we not? Yes. Yes, we are. So if you will, say it with me. And for those of you in the room, there is a basket in the back for you to drop your envelopes. If you're online, there's a donate button on our website and in our weekly e-blast. And just know that how you show up here is what fuels your life out there. And so if you have a sense of being able to give something, money, time, insight, ideas, volunteer labor, all of those things, they all contribute to a sense of prosperity that you carry with you wherever you go. And so say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. All right, we have some things going on. I just remind you 2-3 years ago when we couldn't have anything going on. Y'all remember those lonely days trying to get your Wi-Fi to work so you could talk to somebody without it like jerking all over the screen? You remember those days. All right, so here's what you can do in person here at the center. Reverend Mary has a workshop coming up the last Sunday in January, the 28th, after church, 12:15 to 1:45. And it's called Wealthy Thinking, Abundant Living. Oh, yeah, let's do that. There's a sign-up sheet in the back and a little flyer for you to take with you with the date and time and reminders. And that workshop is on a love offering basis. We have 2 new classes starting up next month. We have Infinite You in the Universe, which is based on the book This Thing Called You. It's a great class if you're new to the philosophy. It's also a great class if you're not new to the philosophy, because as you know, we talk about the upward spiral, right? The same things come back around again and again, but hopefully we're on a higher level when we do it. So wherever you are on your spiritual path, this is a good class for you. Again, there's a flyer and a sign-up sheet in the back with the cost and the times. That one will be Thursday evenings, 6:30 to 8:30. I'm teaching that. And if you are not a night driver and you would like to attend, we can make arrangements. So don't let that stop you if you'd like to take the class. The other class we're offering will be Tuesday nights that Reverend Mary is teaching, 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life, based on a book by the same name. That is a very practical, hands-on, look at how you think about abundance and shift it up. Everybody go up. We're all here to go up. So again, information on the flyers and the sign-up sheet in the back of the room. And do ask us questions if you're not sure if it's for you or not. Make sure you talk to Reverend Mary and I, and we'll be happy to sign you up anyway, because I'm sure you'll get something out of it. Yes. And you know, life is better when you're in class. Yes. Go like this. Yes. Okay. So pick one or both. What are you doing Tuesday and Thursday? You got nowhere else to be, right? Right. All right. We have also coming up our Wednesday night gateway is kicking off again at the end of this month on the 31st. The first talk is called 2023 was a good year, and we're going to kick off our Wednesday nights again. And if you remember, and if you want a good conversation about how all this stuff pertains to your own life, Wednesday nights are a good place to do that. It's a group here in the chapel. There's always a presentation of some sort and a good conversation afterwards. And we have different things coming on the program this year. Each week of the month will be a little bit different format, and we look forward to seeing you there. Mary, did you have anything else?
Yeah, it's not really a talk. It's an interactive.
Oh, so we're going to put you to work. So you have to show up. You have to talk and stuff. But we're nice. We're friendly. We won't embarrass you too much, too often. Thank you. All right. Also want to have you save the date, the end of February, the last Sunday in February, the 25th. We'll have our annual meeting and potluck. So we'll have service in the morning. We'll go next door and have a nice lunch, and then we'll come back in here and do our annual meeting. If you are a member of the center, then you have voting rights. We have board members to elect. We have a couple bylaws, slight adjustments we'd like to make that we need your input on. So we hope to see you on February 25th. If you're planning your vacation, make it a different weekend. Marley, you get your airline schedule. You get that straightened out so you can be here. Yeah. All right. And also, if you are a new member here at the center, do come to the annual meeting. We like to, cheer you on and love you up quite a bit and make sure you know you're home. Anything else I'm not remembering? On prayer requests. There we go. We did the tithe already, Mary. We already said the basket's in the back. That's okay. We're all going to catch up here in a minute. It must be the small room. It's affecting. No, thank you. Yes, we have a prayer request form in the back of the room that you can fill out if you would like prayer support during the week. Our practitioners take that into prayer all week long. We also have a confidential phone line. You can leave a message, call anytime. The main number, option 1, is practitioners. And, you can always talk to a practitioner while you're here and get a little spiritual boost. It's really good to stay anchored in spirit, especially if the stuff all around you feels like a tornado, right? It's good to be centered, and they're really, really good at that. I want to also remind you that we're going to start in February, the first Sunday in February, we will resume call to prayer. So if you remember call to prayer, the practitioners come up front, and you have an opportunity to come forward for a brief prayer with them directly. The entire room feels like a chamber of prayer because that's what's happening here. So even if you don't come forward, you still get the benefit of all that goodness. So that'll be the first Sundays of the month. We'll have our practitioners and ministers up front to do a little extra prayer work as part of the service, and it is a lovely, lovely day when we do that. So anything else anyone can think of? Okay, we will have, yes?
I'd like to remind folks, be sure you use 2024.
Yeah, not 19 anything. 2024, if you've written a check, make sure you check now before you put it in the basket. Otherwise, we'll be coming back. Yeah. Yes, Chris? Oh, thank you. Yes, I have. And actually, that's actually written down in here. We thank Betty for our flowers today. They're Chris's flowers? Okay, they're Chris's flowers. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we can sing, sure. Birthday to you. Who else in January? We are so glad you were born. All right, I think that's what we have for today. I think we should stand up and rock out, shall we?
Take a look at the person next to you and say, God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me.